Welcome back to History Center. Last fall, I worked with some of my students from the University of Oklahoma to produce a field piece for History Center. Armed with cameras, boom mics, and lots of Sooner spirit, we went to Fort Sill, one of the oldest Army outposts west of the Mississippi. I'm at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Joining me here is Tawana Spivey, who is the director and curator of the museum. Thanks for being with us.
Welcome to Fort Sill.
Thanks. Well, tell me, what's the significance of Fort Sill?
This is one of the last frontier Army posts that is still being used in modern times as a Army post.
When was it first built?
1869, January 8th.
These are all original buildings.
All of these are original buildings built by the Buffalo Soldiers of the 10th Cavalry. This is hallowed ground in the sense that a lot of famous people have been here, a lot of famous incidents have occurred here, and in the 1870s and 80s period, this was the end of the line if you were going west from Philadelphia, St. Louis, or someplace east.
Now you have a lot of great artifacts here, old uniforms and guns and things, so why don't you show me around? Aside from being an active military post, Fort Sill is also an historic landmark and has the largest museum in the U.S. Army. It houses a vast collection of American military history and even has the world's first atomic cannon, Atomic Annie. But we're here to go back a bit further in time. This is where you store a lot of horse saddles. This is the horse saddle room.
Yes, this is one of our collection storage areas that focuses on horse equipment. And there are many unique specimens here. Here's a 1-pounder cannon mounted on a mule saddle. Was a prototype in the 1884-85 period, never put into production. Didn't have the cooperation of the mule.
Mules aren't as dumb as you think.
That's right. Mule saddles, most of these saddles here are from the Civil War period.
Now this, one of the things this underscores is there are a lot of horses here.
Exactly.
Like how many, at any given time, how many horses?
Well, there might be as many as 1,000 horses for a 6-company post, for example, like Fort Sill.
So the carrying and feeding of horses was a big part of it.
Big part of it.
When was the last time that horses were used here at Fort Sill?
As far as the cavalry is concerned, they left here in 1907, but the artillery kept using horses here until 1942.
Really? Up until World War II?
Exactly.
So what do we have here?
Just an example of some of the headgear in the museum collection. We have more in other places, but the headgear sort of chronologically through the 19th century into the 20th century. And there's some very unique pieces here as well.
So these are not just all American. These cover some of these.
All of these are American that you're looking at. There's
really?
One cabinet back here that has some foreign equipment. This is all in the United States, patterned after the British. Specimens in the 1870s, 1880s period. Some from the 1820s period here.
Now, do you have the uniforms to go with these hats?
We do.
Can we take a look at those?
Okay, sure. This way.
Okay.
This is one of our more rare specimens. It's a 1812 overcoat from the War of 1812. The only surviving example was on display in 1876 at the Philadelphia Centennial Exposition.
And this is it?
This is it, the one and only.
Now, how does this get here to Fort Sill?
Well, this one came from the Smithsonian, and you can see where over the years the color had changed due to the ultraviolet rays, and it's been here for a long time, and Smithsonian turned it loose. These are examples of Civil War shell jackets that the enlisted men wore. The yellow is for the cavalry, the red for the artillery.
Now, how do you preserve these? How do you keep these?
Well, we clean them. We keep cedar balls in with them to prevent moth infestation. We protect them from light with filters on the bulbs. This is a Mexican War militia uniform, also a very rare item. 1846-47 period.
I would have been able to fit into that when I was about 10 years old.
We can see how people have gotten larger over the decades and the centuries through Army uniforms and equipment.
Yeah. Well, we've seen saddles, we've seen the hats that soldiers wore, we've seen their uniforms. Can you show me where they would have lived?
Right, we can go next door.
Next week, we'll visit the post headquarters. where George Custer once participated in a court-martial. We'll also travel back in time and see the soldiers' barracks as they would have been in the 1870s. And as always, I'd like to remind you to voice your opinion about today's show by logging on to History.com and taking our History Center poll. Stay with us. We'll be back in a minute.
Coming up next, viewer mail.